What is going on, everybody? Jay here. You know, Supergiant regularly makes incredibly high-quality titles, and with a pedigree of Bastion, Transistor, and Pyre, somehow they keep one-upping themselves for quality upon every release. Now the question is, did they keep that pace up with their newest release, Hades? I've spent about 10 hours with the game now, and I feel comfortable at this point giving you an honest review and my opinion of the title. Let's dive in and take a look. Now, I've told this story before, but when I was a kid, superheroes were everything to me. I spent every penny of my allowance at the comic shop buying the newest issues of Justice League and X-Men. I was enamored with the superhero adventures, and I devoured as many of their stories as I could. And I let everyone that I spoke to know how much I loved superheroes, including our friendly librarian at the Fall River Public Library. They took my interest, recognized it, and suggested I check out a copy of D'Aulaire's Book of Greek Mythology. Now, I was skeptical about this one, but when they told me that this was kind of the benchmark and the blueprint for what superhero stories were based on, I figured I'd give it a shot. Yeah, needless to say, I became obsessed, and I read as many of their stories as I could, including the Iliad and the Odyssey. Now, getting Greek mythology in games has always been a bit of a struggle. I mean, granted, we have things like the original God of War series, there was Battle of Olympus on the NES, there was the Age of Mythology series, Glory of Heracles that Nintendo released on the DS, and Apotheon, which is a really cool independent platformer that released on Steam that features artwork reminiscent of Greek frescoes and pottery. But still, there wasn't a whole lot of great Greek mythology games out there. But Hades makes an attempt at improving that track record. First and foremost, the basics of the game. Hades is an action RPG roguelite. Yes, forgive me, I know it's another roguelike, and I apologize for that, but you guys are just going to have to deal with the fact that I'm going to keep talking about roguelikes. And you play as Zagreus, son of the Greek god of the underworld, Hades. It is, at best, a contentious relationship between these two. Zag wants nothing more than to escape the underworld and go to the overworld. Through various schemes and the influence of the other members of the Greek pantheon, you'll accept boons and blessings to attempt to escape throughout your father's domain. Now, you have different abilities Zag can use on your adventure, with the basics being attack, special attack, dash, and cast. As you meet various members of the pantheon, you will gain boons that will influence these abilities. For example, I've had ones where Poseidon will cause a wave to surround me as I dash, pushing enemies back. Zeus will cause lightning bolts to strike my enemies, and Hermes will cause me to run faster after I dash for a few seconds to allow me to escape from pursuit. You can also gain abilities called calls, which will allow you to directly call down one of your Olympus family to assist you separate from your normal abilities. Now, these are pretty neat. I've had ones where giant lightning bolts will strike my enemies with Zeus, or Artemis will send down a volley of arrows to take out my enemies. It's pretty great. You are, of course, not limited to one weapon in your pursuit of escape, which gives you the opportunity to find a weapon that suits your playstyle. You do start out with only the Stygian Blade, but as you play, you'll collect keys, which will allow you to collect Varatha the Eternal Blade, a spear originally used by Hades, Aegis the Shield of Chaos, and things like the Twin Fists of Malphon, among others. Each weapon is unique in its approach, style, and play, so you'll be able to tailor the game to the way you're most comfortable. So far, I've personally had the most luck with Malphon's Mighty Boxing Gloves, but you might enjoy the spear or shield a bit more. Now, while I'm reluctant to call Hades a full-fledged RPG, it certainly is towing that line. There's tons of RPG elements in play as you progress through the game. Zag gets a ton of different talent upgrades that allow him advantages as he progresses via the Mirror of Night in his bedroom. Now, these talents range pretty far and wide. You can get things such as increasing Zag's damage by 10% per rank, give him more money to use at Charon's shop, and allow him the ability to respawn immediately upon death. You pay for these talents by collecting darkness throughout the underworld. Darkness is represented on room choices by a purple crystal, which you'll be presented with after clearing rooms as you progress through the different stages. Another thing you can collect as you play is a bounty artifact called Nectar, also known as Ambrosia, which can be used as a gift to receive artifacts which will give Zag serious advantages as you progress. Each character you meet that you can converse with can be given Nectar as a gift, and upon giving them the Nectar for the first time, you increase your relationship rating with them and receive a keepsake gift in return. Now, you can keep giving these same characters more Nectar, and that will increase your relationship with them, opening up more story points and more lore. But the keepsakes are the key, and these keepsakes, much like the talents you upgrade via darkness, are far-ranging. You know, for example, giving Achilles a gift will present you with a Myrmidon Bracer. This will give you a bonus to damage resistance from the front, but will cause you to take 10% more damage from the rear. Damn Achilles and his heel. Giving a gift to do so will spawn healing items in pots that you can break in each level, allowing you to heal up between encounters or during encounters in the case of boss battles. Cerberus gives you more life on your life meter, and Hypnos will give you more coins to use at Charon's shop right off the bat. There's so many different keepsakes to unlock that you want to keep replaying and gaining more and more ambrosia to gift the various NPCs you can interact with. You can also apparently unlock companions that will pop in and help you that you can summon, but I personally don't have one of those yet at the time of the recording, so I can't speak to those. There's a couple other bounty artifacts you can gather as well. For example, diamonds will allow you to purchase more intriguing items from the House Contractor that will unlock different gameplay and interactive elements in the game. You can purchase a music stand for your room to listen to music, a fishing rod to allow you to grab creatures out of the underworld rivers, a disco ball for the lounge, which I am positive Hades himself would hate, and a lyre to play music with, if you can learn how. You can also collect Titan's Blood by defeating Furies, which will allow you to upgrade your various weapons. Now, I mentioned the House Contractor briefly, and I want to get into that with a bit more detail. As you play the game, much like the Darkness, you'll be presented with options to enter rooms with a reward that looks like a gemstone. Now, these gems allow you to purchase all kinds of things for the House of Hades to change the look, as well as unlock different areas of the house to give you more exploration options in between escape attempts. Many of these are purely cosmetic improvements, but some will do things like open a lounge where you'll be able to speak to characters to learn more about them and exchange things you've collected for other collectibles, at a truly insanely hellacious inflation rate. But why would you want to improve the house of your incredibly evil and repressive father Hades? Well, because that's where the lore of the game comes in. Zag was raised to believe that his mother was Nyx, the embodiment of night, and his father, Hades, the god of the underworld. Now, as you play, you discover the reason for Zag's rebellious streak is that he found out his actual mother is the former queen of the underworld, Persephone. Now, Persephone finally had enough of Hades' attitude and noped the hell on out of the underworld, tired of splitting her time between her gardens in the sun and the drab Underdark. You'll also meet a veritable who's who of mythological figures, creatures, gods, goddesses, and legendary heroes. For example, you spend ample time conversing with Achilles, Sisyphus, and Nyx, verbally sparring with Hades, accepting the boons of Hermes, Aphrodite, Poseidon, and Zeus, and battling creatures like Gorgons, the Minotaur, and even possessed chariots. These enemies come in seemingly endless waves and will increase in difficulty the further you go in the game, which is to be expected. You start off fighting amorphous spectral wretches before encountering skeletons and flying skulls, fallen heroes, and eventually satyrs, and even rodents of unusual size, which do exist. As you move your way through the underworld, you'll pass through the pits of Tartarus. It's a dungeon-like area that holds the souls of those who committed sins against the Greek pantheon. Asphodel is a desecrated meadow that is now a series of unforgiving rocky islands amidst rivers of lava. Elysium, or the Elysian Fields, the land of fallen heroes and great wars, and finally the Temple of Styx, a gauntlet-style arena where you have to proceed through a series of rooms before advancing to your reward. The environments are each incredibly unique and engaging, and each offers a challenge you won't find elsewhere in the game. Of course, each level is only good as its boss, right? And each level has both a boss and a mini-boss, which will appear about halfway through your progression through the world, probably. You don't encounter them every time, it depends on what path you choose. In Tartarus, you may face a mini-boss encounter which includes bombers that will attempt to blow you up, wretched sneaks which will fire volleys of projectiles at you, and the damned Doomstone, which is my least favorite. It's a rock that flies around and will shatter off different pieces, which will then reflect lasers to shoot you with. You need crowd control for this one. Use your cast on this one to shatter some of the other ones. It'll keep the damage to a minimum. The boss in Tartarus is Megara, the Fury, who you will die to repeatedly in your early runs. Now, she is a difficult boss to start with, but she is a fantastic training regimen. You will learn the value of the dash and attack, you will learn the value of your special, and you'll learn the value of casting. And if you use your boons and powers smartly, Zag will eventually win the day. In Asphodel, you actually encounter different kinds of mini-boss battles. While each is a bit of a gauntlet run, they're all fairly unique in their approach. There's the Barge of Death, which throws wave after wave of enemies at you. The Megagorgon and Skull Crusher, which will attempt to freeze you and then turn you into deity paste by crushing you with a giant rock. Or the Witch's Circle, where you'll have to travel and make sure you don't dash into the lava to avoid getting burned. Your boss fight in this one is against the Bone Hinder, and it's what you'd expect. Cut off one head and many more will take its place. This is the last boss I've actually defeated at this point. I have made it into Elysium, and I've made it to the encounter with Theseus and the Minotaur Asterius. I haven't gotten past them yet, and on my couple of runs to Elysium, I've actually managed to dodge most of the mini-bosses and only encountered the Soul Catcher. I've read that there's also an encounter with Asterius himself, the Minotaur, which doesn't sound like a ton of fun. That boss fight with him and Theseus regularly kicks my ass up around my shoulder blades. Honestly, what you're getting here is essentially a hack-and-slash action RPG at its barest form. If I boil this down, that is what the game is. But it's a significantly engaging and charming take on things like Diablo and Darksiders. You don't really maintain progress as far as things like boons go. So any advantages you get from your Olympian counterparts, you'll lose when you die. But any things you add on to the House of Hades or upgrades you make for your infernal arguments will be maintained. And critically, you also maintain any upgrades you make to Zagreus himself, meaning any darkness you spend to improve Zag's base stats will roll with you as you continue to play. It's honestly a bit Sisyphusian as you die and try again, which really is kind of fitting for the subject matter at hand. Every time you play, you get a bit further, and you become a bit more effective, and you'll find something else that just tilts the gameplay more in your favor. It's an unbelievably rewarding style of play, and it has so much built-in replay value that you shouldn't be surprised when you've lost a few hours of time to the underworld in Zag's pursuit of justice. The look of the game is as great as the game is deep, with a simply gorgeous art style and design aesthetic. Everything from the design of the candles in the House of Hades to the word balloons that appear over the different spirits that mill about the underworld just add to the overall ambiance of the game. The effects for your powers are flashy and feel impressive. The design of the enemies, weapons, world art, map, hell, even the font used for the names and the dialogue trees is done with purpose. And everything fits, everything works. I feel like I'm living out a Greek myth, and I dare say that's exactly what the folks at Supergiant were going for. But where this game really just hits a grand slam is in the character work. The designs of each of the main characters is absolutely stunning. The Greek pantheon in particular each feel unique and true to their original stories. Poseidon gets to be a bit more casual and relaxed. He's not the guy in charge. Zeus, however, is massive and regal. Aphrodite is really super naked. Artemis is clearly happier on her own and on the hunt. Dionysus is very drunk. And Hermes is in two places at the same time, delivering the messages of the gods. The House of Hades inhabitants are also amazing. Hades himself is overbearing and massive. Zag looks every bit the dashing Greek hero. Achilles is the worn-down hero of legend. Medusa is the world's most adorable Gorgon. Cerberus is a very good boy. Nyx is regal and stunning. And Sisyphus bears the scars of his eternal struggle, pushing the rock up the hill, and the whips of the Furies. And somehow, as good as the game looks, somehow this game goes beyond those incredible artistic representations of the characters to give one of the richest and most incredible vocal performances I have ever heard. Zagreus, and somehow Skelly, is played by Darren Korb, who also composed the music for the game. Zag is equal parts dashing hero and tragic figure, and you find yourself rooting for and fearful for Zag based entirely on the richness Darren brings to the role. Avalon Penrose plays Megara and embodies the rage, dignity, grace, duty, and sadness of the character in such a nuanced and deep performance. Medusa is a bundle of anxiety and adorableness, and Aphrodite the embodiment of love and sensuality brought to life by Courtney Vines. Two of my favorite characters, the regal mother of the night Nyx and the solitary goddess of the hunt Artemis, were both played by Jamie Landrum to significant effect. Seriously, the vocal cast on this game is top tier. I am absolutely enamored with this cast, and I haven't even mentioned the gorgeous singing voice of Eurydice. As a voice actor, this is the kind of project that just ignites your love of the medium and makes you want to create. I cannot give this game a higher compliment than that. Now, at the time of the recording the footage for this game, I'd probably put in about 6 hours of gameplay, and today I put in another 4 hours. This is the game that's gotten me to put down Mario 3D All-Stars, Star Wars Squadrons, and Super Mario Bros. 35. I think about the world and strategies to take down the problem bosses throughout the day. I consider different loadouts and builds for Zag and what boons I'd want to take, and I ponder which keepsakes I should employ to give me that edge as I move up through the underworld. And even now, with over 10 hours in the books, I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of the game. Games like this are touchstone moments where you realize you're playing something truly special and incredibly important. And as is the case with everything Supergiant does, whether it's Bastion, Transistor, Pyre, or now here with Hades, the game is at such a high level of excellence that I'm left wondering what they can do to top it with their next release. Do I suggest you get it? This is as an emphatic a hell yes as I can give you. Hades is an absolute masterpiece of gamecraft, a beautiful tapestry of excellence woven together to make something truly special. That's going to do it for today, but now I want to hear from you. If you have played Hades, who's your favorite encounter thus far? Is it the bravado and charm of Skelly, the silent acknowledgement of Charon, the continued aloofness or Hypnos, or someone else entirely? Thank you for watching this far. Please do like, subscribe, share, and ring the notification button to stay up to date with what we've got coming up. Until next time, I've been Jay. I appreciate you all being here. Play more games, stay square, and take care. We'll talk to you soon.